In this lesson, I'm going to talk about a crucial topic called net ionic equation and spectator ions. By working through Ionic equations, as you know, we have three cases related to our subject, one of which is mixing two ionic compounds that produce a soluble salt and an insoluble salt. The second case is mixing two ionic compounds which produce two soluble salts. That means both products are soluble. And the last case is if both products are insoluble salt. Let us begin with the first case. Consider the reaction between silver nitrate and sodium chloride. Silver is Ag, nitrate is NO3, sodium chloride, sodium is Na chloride is Cl. Okay. The type of the reaction is double displacement reaction. That means the positive charge of the first compound combined with the negative charge of the second compound or salt produce AgCl, and the positive charge of the second compound with the negative charge of the first compound produce NaNO3, sodium nitrate. Sodium or nitrates are soluble in water, but AgCl, silver chloride, is insoluble in water. From the soluble compound, we can find spectator ions directly, but you have to separate ions. So the spectator ion of the equation is Na positive and NO3 negative. The spectator ions are Na positive and NO3 negative. But for the net ionic equation, we can write net ionic equation from insoluble products directly. But as you know that net ionic equation is an equation. That means you have to write an equation. How to write net ionic equation? We can write insoluble salt in the product and it is ion from the reactants. That means Ag positive and Cle negative. This equation is called net ionic equation. Okay. If both products are soluble salts, we can say that the reaction does not take place. That means the reaction doesn't occur. And no net ionic equation. You have no net ionic equation. For example, the reaction between potassium chloride, KCl, and, for example, magnesium nitrate, MgNO3/2. K positive combined with the NO3 negative produce potassium nitrate, and Mg positive do with the Cl negative one produce MgCl2. Chlorides are soluble in water except AgCl, Ag2Cl2, and PbCl2, and potassiums are soluble in water. So in this case, we can say reaction does not occur and we have not net ionic equation. The last case, if both products are insoluble. In this case, we have no spectator ions, but we have net ionic equation. The overall ionic equation is equal to the net ionic equation. For example, a reaction between calcium sulfide, CaS, with magnesium sulfate, MgSO4. Calcium combined with sulfate produce CaSO4, and magnesium positive with sulfide produce MgS, magnesium sulfide. Sulfides are insoluble except calcium, strontium, sodium, potassium, and ammonium. Sulfates are soluble, but calcium sulfate is insoluble. We have not, in this question, we have not soluble salt, so spectator ions does not exist, and overall ionic equation is equal to net ionic equation. This equation is called overall ionic equation. Overall equation, or we can say general equation. We convert the overall equation to overall ionic equation or general ionic equation. How? CaS dissolved in water produce Ca positive due and S negative due. MgSO4 dissolved in water produce Mg positive due and SO4 negative due. But we say that CaSO4 does not dissolve in water. So you have this compound stay insoluble in water as CaSO4 solid. Also magnesium sulfide insoluble in water. We write MgS the same. So you have no spectator ions. The overall ionic equation is net ionic equation. Let us solve some result equations. First question is definition of the spectator ion is an ion that does not take part in a chemical reaction, is found in solution both before and after the reaction, name it as. This is the definition of the spectator ion. Question number 2. When aqueous solution of barium chloride. Barium is Ba positive due chloride Cl negative, so the formula of barium chloride is BaCl2 plus. Potassium sulfide, potassium K positive 1 sulfide S negative, so the formula of the salt is K2S. Double displacement reaction occurred. Ba with S produce BaS plus K with Cl produce KCl. BaS is insoluble in water while KCl is soluble in water. Which ions is not appear? The requirement of the reaction is which ions not appear in the net ionic equation. That means spectator ions. So we can find spectator ions from the aqueous products directly, but you have to change to ions. So the spectator ions are K positive and Cl negative. So the correct answer is C. Question number 3. Which of the following set of ions do not appear in net ionic equation? Also, that's mean spectator ions. For the reaction between ZnNO3 by 2, ZnNO3 by 2, zinc nitrate with Na3PO4, Na3PO4, Zn plus PO4, Zn is positive and PO4 negative 3 though, so the formula of the compound is, the formula of the salt is Zn3PO4 by 2 plus Na with NO3 produce NaNO3. Phosphates are insoluble. Sodiums are soluble. Spectator ion from aqueous product, so they are Na positive and NO3 negative. So the correct answer is C. Spectator ions also, requirement of the reaction is spectator ions between the aqueous solution zinc nitrate, zinc Zn, nitrate NO3, so zinc nitrate is ZnNO3 with ammonium, careful is not ammonia, ammonium NH4 positive 1, sulfide S negative, so ammonium sulfide is NH4 by 2 S. Zn with S produce ZnS, NH4 with NO3 produce NH4 NO3. ZnS is insoluble in water. NH4 ammoniums are soluble in water. We can find spectator ion from the aqueous product. The spectator ions are NH4 positive and NO3 negative. So the correct answer also is C. Write the net ionic equation for the reaction between potassium nitrate KNO3 and magnesium sulfide MgSO4. Magnesium sulfate MgSO4. K with SO4 produce K2SO4. Potassium sulfate Mg with NO3 produce MgNO3 by 2. Magnesium nitrate. Potassiums are soluble in water. Also nitrates are soluble in water. So you have not insoluble salt. If the insoluble salt doesn't exist in the product of the double displacement reaction, there we can say that the net ionic equation does not exist. So none of them. None of them. Aqueous solution of barium chloride. Barium chloride means BaCl2. Potassium sulfate means K2SO4. Which one of the following is spectator ion? BaCl2 with K2SO4. Ba with SO4 produce BaSO4 and K with Cl produce KCl. BaSO4 is insoluble in water. KCl is soluble in water. For the spectator ion, we can find it from the aqueous product. So K positive and Cl negative are spectator ion. Correct answer is C. Question number 7. The spectator ion in the aqueous Pb positive 2, Zn positive 2, and S negative produce PbS and ZnS. Look, the products are PbS and ZnS. Sulfides are insoluble, but except 5-sulfite. Sulfides are insoluble except 5 of them they are soluble in water. NH4 soluble in water, K soluble in water, Na soluble in water, Ca soluble in water, and S are soluble in water. So PbS insoluble in water, and ZnS is also insoluble in water. If you have not an aqueous product, so you have not spectator ions. So there is no spectator ions. Question number 8. Write the net ionic equation. Net ionic equation for reaction between silver nitrate AgNO3 and sodium sulfide Na2S. AgNO3 and Na2S. Ag with S produce Ag2S plus Na with NO3 produce NaNO3. NaNO3 is soluble in water, while Ag2S is not soluble in water. To find net ionic equation, we can find it from the insoluble product directly. The insoluble product is Ag2S. Its ions are Ag positive 2Ag, careful, and S negative 2. So this equation is net ionic equation. The correct answer is B. Question number 9. The net ionic equation for the precipitation nickel 2 sulfide. Sulfide is acid. Nickel Ni positive 2. So the compound is NiS. This is Ni2S2 is not correct. NiS, okay. Na positive 2, S negative 2. So correct answer is C. NiS is written in the reactant, so it's not correct. Question number 10. Identify the spectator ion. Spectator ion. We say that you can find spectator ion from the aqueous product. So the reaction between AgNO3 with KCl. Ag plus Cl produce AgCl, and K with NO3 produce KNO3. K solve in water, while AgCl does not dissolve in water. So the spectator ion from soluble products. So the spectator ions are K positive and NO3 negative. Correct answer is B. Question number 11. Zn positive do, Ca positive do, S negative do. This reaction is mixing 3 aqueous solution. Produce Zn, S and Cs. CaS is soluble in water, but ZnS is or does not dissolve in water. This type of reaction is different from the others. Why? Because in this reaction we have 3 reactants. So If you concentrate that the S negative 2 exists from aqueous and insoluble salt. So the spectator ions call it the ions does not appear in net ionic equation. S is appear from the ZNS. That is mean that S negative 2 is not spectator ion. Why S negative 2 is not a spectator ion? Because S negative 2 appear in net ionic equation. So Ca does not appear in ZNS, so only Ca is a spectator ion. For example, or I would like to explain more this question. To find net ionic equation, we can find it from the insoluble product directly. That's mean from the ZNS. Zn positive and S negative. So Zn appear in net ionic equation. So Zn is not a spectator ion. S negative appear in net ionic equation, so is not a spectator ion. But Ca positive does not appear in net ionic equation. The ions that does not appear in net ionic equation are spectator ions. I would like to solve our workbook questions. This question is very important because it is also between three different soluble salts. If we mix the following solution, NaCl, Na3PO4, and BaNO3 by 2, we will a precipitate form. If yes, write the name and formula of the precipitate and write the net ionic equation for the reaction. Okay. We have three different salts. Such as this type of question, you have to try to make a reaction between the first salt with the second salt. You have to try a reaction between first salt and second salt. Also, second salt with the third salt and first salt with the last salt. So this question is like three questions. NaCl with the Na3PO4, Na with PO4 produce Na3PO4, Na with Cl produce NaCl. Reaction between second and third salt, Na with NO3 produce NaNO3, Ba with PO4 produce Ba3PO4 by 2. And first one with the last one, Na with the NO3 produce NaNO3 plus Ba with the Cl produce BaCl2. Sodium aqueous, chlorides are soluble in water, sodiums are soluble in water, sodiums are soluble in water, sodiums are soluble in water, phosphates are insoluble in water except sodium, potassium, and ammonium. So the reaction between NaCl and NaPO4 and BaNO3 by 2 produce an insoluble salt. The insoluble salt is Ba3PO4 by 2. So, real a precipitation form? Yes. Write the formula. The formula of the insoluble salt is Ba3PO4 by 2. And write the name. The name is barium phosphate. Also, write the net ionic equation. So barium phosphate Ba3PO4 by 2, it is insoluble salt. It ends from the reactant 3Ba positive 2 and 2PO4 negative 3. 2PO4 negative 3. This equation is net ionic equation. B. List all the spectator ions present in the system. The ions that does not appear in net ionic equation are spectator ion by the comparison between the salts with the net ionic equation. Look, Na does not appear in the net ionic equation, so Na is a spectator ion. Cl does not appear in the net ionic equation, so Cl is net ionic spectator ion. Na, we have written Na. PO4 appear in the net ionic equation, so PO4 is not spectator ion. Ba appears in net ionic equation, so Ba is not net ionic, is not spectator ion. NO3 does not appear in the net ionic equation, so NO3 is spectator ion. So the spectator ions are Na, Cl, and NO3.